Where do I want to be? Sunday.
Special people make special plays on special days.
Sunday.
You gotta want it. There's all about who want it right now. Let's go.
When does football breathe?
Sunday. I sweat.
I dream.
I need football.
I will lead. I will inspire.
I will be myself.
I will be the best.
I will intimidate.
I will run for the record. Today,
We return to reclaim our day.
Sunday. The only day that really matters.
are you ready? 7 months have passed.
Have you missed us?
Sunday.
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 Sunday. The only day that matters.
It's our time now.
And since it's the only day that matters, it's the special opening Sunday edition of Sunday NFL Countdown. From the Meadowlands to our haunts in bucolic Bristol, we're more than ready, willing, and able to kick this thing off. Hi, Chris Berman. Welcome to the 2002 season. Hope you enjoyed our Thursday opener. With me, as always, for the 53rd season with me this year, Tom Jackson.
Not all paper football must have hit you right between the eyes.
Is that why you're on? See, okay, see, we're nervous. You're a little bit nervous. So in the slot this year, we got Sterling Sharp.
And you've been hanging with Steve Young with the word bucolic this early in the season.
Well, I'm an
Are you nuts?
I'm an honorary left-hander like Steve Young. Hello, Steve.
Not superfluous.
No, that we
Don't
get
hit both
even
sides,
start.
okay?
Yeah, we're going to sandwich you.
And look who's here with us every Sunday this year. Coach Bill Parcells, welcome to Connecticut.
I don't know how good my stamina is, but I'll do what I can.
Well, I think you're okay, Coach. Hey, you know, okay, one team already sitting there 1-0 for 3 days, which is nice. We look at opening day. We looking for some theme today, fellas?
Quarterbacks beware, because there's going to be an awful lot of pressure via the blitz on all teams that play on this Sunday.
There will be a lot of blitz, but I'm looking for a bulletproof offense to start to develop a Super Bowl offense so they don't have to watch our championship team go 1 for 11 on 3rd down in the Super Bowl.
And I don't know what's going to happen today, but what I can guarantee you of is Tuesday morning, there's going to be 16 head coaches taking aspirin, shaking their heads, saying, are we going to ever win a game?
It's the part of the season that I love because the defense is always ahead of the offense for the first month of the season.
You would like that.
You would like that.
You would. Well, it looked like it on Thursday night, that's for sure. Well, you guys know as well as me, you can only read so much into the preseason. But you talk about a story developing in a hurry in the preseason. Steve Spurrier coaching at the Washington Redskins. I mean, damn the torpedoes. We're going to pass it. We're going to move it. It began in Japan against the Niners. It went in the air. And when it was done, Washington went 4-1 this August, scoring 164 points, by far the most in the league. That's 33 a game preseason. The most eyebrow-raising score of the entire preseason. If you ask me, Redskins 40, Bucks 10 at Tampa. Today, they try it for real against their one-time division foe, now NFC West team, Arizona. Let's move on to FedEx Field and welcome in for the season, Sal Palantonio. Sal, happy opening day.
Opening day to you, Boomer. We've got confirmed delivery of Steve Spurrier here at FedEx Field. Here he is, coming off the team bus through the tunnel here to FedEx for his inaugural debut here in Washington. You know, Spurrier's tried to do a lot the last couple of days to really ratchet down the excitement around him, the attention on him. He stayed in the team hotel last night in Greenbelt with the rest of the team. He had a meeting and basically, in effect, apologized for all the attention that has been focused on him, saying he's been a little bit embarrassed by it. An interesting scene last night at the team hotel. Spurrier and a lot of the coaches arrived at the same time that his former Gators were taking the field against the University of Miami, but at 6 o'clock precisely, there was a team meal. They all left the TV, went to the team meal, then to the team meetings and the offensive and defensive meetings. Luckily, they missed the second half of that game when the Gators got swamped in the swamp. You know, on the football field in the last 2 preseason games against Pittsburgh and against the Patriots, they were really surprised by a lot of the blitzes that those 2 teams used against them. a lot of disguised defensive schemes that they weren't ready for. Had them scurrying back to the film room, back to the drawing board a little bit to try to redraw up some of the offensive schemes that they will use in the regular season. We should see a lot of Stephen Davis, but you know what? All of this, Boomer, cannot really dim the hype that's really surrounding Spurrier's debut. This is the most anticipated inaugural in Washington since 1992, when another son of the South came here, the man from Hope, Arkansas. A lot of people are hoping that Steve Spurrier can regain what was lost here in Washington with the Redskins.
Well, that, of course, was President Clinton, and they all played Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow. You know, Fleetwood Mac, at any rate, that's just an aside. Sal, more from you later. All right, so FedEx Field all year long. Will we absolutely, positively see points scored overnight, or is this going to be an experiment gone awry?
Well, I like what Steve Spurrier's done coming to Washington, because what he has done, guys, is the focus is not on the players, and he has brought identity, he has brought confidence to a team that's identity and confidence was only in what Stephen Davis was able to bring.
I'll tell you what he has. He's got something that every offensive head coach needs. That's a defensive coordinator.
Yes, he
and
does.
Three
Yes, he
great
does.
defensive
Yes, he does.
players.
Right.
Champ Bailey, LeVar Arrington, Jeremiah Trotter.
Well, I tell you, they definitely had him drinking the Kool-Aid down there. You talk to the Redskins, they really believe that they're going to score 30 points a game on average. Three really intriguing things about Steve Spurrier. One, is he going to change the hours of the assistant coaches from 6 in the morning to 12 at night to just 9 to 5? And then, is that system really just about the system, or can it be just about the players? I think he thinks it's just a system.
Well, Steve, I think if you look at the big package, LeVar Arrington will be the Ray Lewis that Marvin Lewis had when he was with the Baltimore Ravens. And if Steve Spurrier can do just half of what Daniel Snyder paid him the $25 million to do, then he's going to get a chance to play. This is Marvin Lewis, the coordinator, with the lead, something he hasn't done for a number of years.
They're going to win some 40-3, they hope, and lose some 40-3. If they lose some 40-3, does he change anything, or just keep going?
Well, just keep winging it. That's what they used to do in the swamp.
They're not going to lose 40-3 with Marvin Lewis in that defense. That's not going to happen.
Their defense is too good for that.
They're going to get a lot of plays.
They got corners, they got linebackers, and they got some veteran
Their
pass rushers.
defense is going to get a lot of plays.
And they got Arizona today, a team that, on paper, and we caution that term, on paper, like that paper football Tommy kicked, that they should or could and should win the game. From the high-octane skins to a high-powered 2 hours right up until kickoff, your place to get set for Sunday's kickoff 2002 is right here. And don't go away. When we return, Mortimer will tell us why Peyton Manning may be headed out of Indy. What? What? Hey, see? Don't go anywhere. Be Sunday NFL Countdown, or an NFL season for that matter, without the words of wisdom, not to mention wisdom teeth, of our Chris Mortensen. Happy opening day, happy opening Sunday, pal.
Oh, it's good to be here, Boom. I think we're already having a lot of fun. All I can tell you right now is Tim Couch in the Cleveland Browns. Couch not going to start the day. He is on the field as we speak, testing his arm, playing catch with Kelly Holcomb to see, in fact, if he can even be the number 2 quarterback. He'll probably be number 3. He did visit Dr. James Andrews, the orthopedist, on Thursday. It's a scar tissue issue. Andrews surprised him by saying throw more, not less. It's a 3-day or 3-week injury. It happened 13 days ago. So if he's not ready, Couch not ready by week 3, I think it's trouble. Holcomb gets the start. His teammates call him Sleepy. Hopefully he won't play Sleepy or Dopey today against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now for more Sunday headlines. Peyton Manning could, in fact, have a new contract and a new address in 2003. Indianapolis might be on a faster track to L.A. than most people realize. The mayor of Indianapolis, Bart Peterson, visited New York within the past week to talk to the NFL about this. A new stadium in Indianapolis is not a cure-all. December 1st might be a floating deadline. February 1st might be a drop-dead date for Colts owner Jim Irsay. Irsay wants to work this out, but it's a small market. They're the only team that can walk away from their lease after this season. And Peyton Manning, they're trying to get him signed to a $100 million contract. They need the revenue. And I have been told that Peyton Manning would embrace this move to L.A. And L.A., of course, would like to have a marquee quarterback. Manning would be that guy. As far as the Rams go, they've had double secret probation practices this week in St. Louis. Closed to the media, closed to everybody. Rams coach Mike Martz, yeah, he's probably working on some more trick plays there, just like he did last year and what have you. But Kurt Warner, here's what I can tell you. Kurt Warner was cranky. He was sarcastic. He was second-guessing everything Mike Martz was doing in practice this week, preparing for the Broncos. Mike Martz says, you know what? I like it that way. Warner's usually at his best. And this time of year, Everybody is always asking about who are the coaches on the hot seat, who are the quarterbacks on the hot seat. Coaches, you start with Jim Fossil. Two losing Super Bowls after a Super Bowl appearance, and I think Fossil would be out. He likes the hot seat. I think Tom Coughlin, he signed an extension with owner Wayne Weaver. For better or worse, I think it's for worse. Dan Reeves, one winning season in Atlanta. That was the Super Bowl with a new owner, Arthur Blank. May not be good enough. Mike Holmgren, he's got a new stadium. He's got an owner in Paul Allen that won't be afraid to buy out his contract if it doesn't work. And a guy who hasn't even coached a game. Bill Callahan, I think, already on the hot seat with Al Davis. And the quarterbacks, Mark Brunell. If Coughlin is back next year, I don't think Brunell will be. Word is he'll be on the trade block, and I don't think that Brunell would even fight that. Where would he go? Well, there's other quarterbacks. There's Brian Greasy. I think Steve Berline could be playing by midseason this year for the Broncos if Greasy doesn't deliver. Jay Fiedler, expectations too high. Dan Marino's shadow looming larger than ever. And then Jake Plummer in Arizona. He's in the last year of his contract. I don't see Bill Bidwell making that big mistake with him on another new contract. And Trent Green in Kansas City. The Chiefs thought they were getting Kurt Warner. They don't even have Trent Green yet. Boomer, we are having some fun, aren't we?
Mortimer, you only got to change. You got to be white shirt Mort. What is it? Green shirt Mort
white
back
shirt
there.
on next week
Good
now.
job there. Guy didn't coach his first game, and he's on the he's on the hot seat already. It could only be the Raiders, couldn't it be? We have plenty to come here on our 2-hour edition of Sunday NFL Countdown. Good job, Mort.
And being able to see the smoke and the towers that weren't there, and it's something that will indelible in your mind. You'll never forget it.
Felt so bad for the people who lost, people in the tragedies, in the incidents, and it's just something that we're still, I think, trying to overcome in a lot of ways, and it's something that's going to stick with us for the rest of our lives.
I mean, those thousands of people who died in the World Trade Center and at the Pentagon didn't expect that day when they came to work to be their last day, and so you definitely have to live each day to the fullest.
For me, it made me look inward in my relationship with my family and how important that is. And all the things in your life that you take for granted that are really more important than football become brighter, louder, sharper, and football becomes a little bit more dull.
Maybe that was something that it was God's way of saying, you know, hey, America, you know, things aren't all that bad. You know, we have a lot to be very proud of. We have a lot to be very thankful for.
It's a great country we live in, and that's about being together. It's about fighting for a cause. And right now, we're a family, and we're in our house. And right now, no one's going to take it away from us.
When the flag is raised, everybody's together. You know, you might see tears drop from a fan's eyes. You know, fans might say something to you. You know what I mean? That's the togetherness that we came together after 9/11.
September 11 really demonstrated how a country that has been divided by financial differences, racial differences, religious differences can all come together in a moment of crisis and do the things that people did that particular day to try to save another person's life.
That type of disaster, you know, makes you realize a lot of things that, you know, every time you pass a fireman now or you pass a policeman, you wave, you know, and you say thank you because, you know, they're here protecting us.
I just look at those firefighters, how, you know, they ran into that building, and police officers also who ran into that building, you know, knowing that, you know, that could be their last time, but wanting to save just one more life. You know, there's no greater love than that, than for someone to give their life for someone else.
People that tried to divert the plane that was supposedly headed for the White House, and those are the heroes. They gave up their lives, and they maybe had no choice, but they did some heroic things so a lot of other people wouldn't die. And it changed my whole concept of what a hero can be.
I think there was a lot of heroes in 9/11. And when you have a situation like that, it makes things like football become only a sport. It's merely a game that we play.
There's not a day that goes by or a game that doesn't go by where I just am not thankful for what I get to do, for where I am, for who I've been surrounded with, my family. I mean, you just count your blessings.
I look back and figure out how you know, everybody came together, how you realize what's more important in life, you know, how family comes first before anything. I'm not the hero. I'm not just out there doing my job, you know, and that's the same thing my brothers, I think, would say.
Certainly will be a difficult week for all of us coming up, and for those families touched firsthand by the despicable act of 9/11, our hearts are forever with you. We'll be back in this edition of Countdown in a moment. And when we return, teams in every division and in the AFC East, 3 of the 4 made the playoffs last season, including the 10-6 New York Football Jets, who have followed Herm Edwards' rookie season as head coach with a 4-0 August. But the team that didn't make it in the division, 3-13 Buffalo, is brimming with enthusiasm. Why? Drew Bledsoe's arrival from New England is being billed and hoped as a Jim Kelly arrival part 2. Can Bledsoe make the Bills formidable once again? Can he at least circle a couple of wagons? To Western New York we go to Andrea Kramer. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Chris. You think there's some extra excitement here in Buffalo? Well, the Winnebagos started parking here on Tuesday, and it's all heralding the arrival of this man. Drew Bledsoe sauntered in a little before 10 a.m., and he told me he wasn't particularly nervous, but that this was not just another game. He likened the feeling to his rookie year, but he said he knows so much more about what the Bills can do as a team. So I asked him, going up against Mo Lewis and the Jets, the hit that was career-threatening and life-altering, how much is that weighing on his mind? He looked at me and said emphatically, it has no bearing. They're just another division team. He said that's something that you guys think about. Well, I'll tell you what Bledsoe's thinking about is an offensive line that's still coming together, and he told me he knows it's going to force him to be more patient. What really concerns offensive coordinator Kevin Gilbride, so much so that he's reduced his playbook by about a third, is that he said for Bledsoe, it's like having a 500 horsepower engine and we're making him drive it 20 miles an hour. Bledsoe's got the arm. He wants to showcase it. He knows he's got the weapons at wide receiver, but we've got to rein him in early, make him throw underneath, get some confidence in that offensive line, and hopefully later in the game we can exploit 3 new defensive backs for the Jets. As for the Jets, the big question has been about Pro Bowl defensive end John Abraham. First action since spraining an MCL ligament in his knee August 3rd. He's going to start. He told me that he's in there getting massage right now. He's going to be on the bike to keep it warm and loose. But here's where it gets interesting. Herm Edwards told me I'm keeping him to between 20 and 25 plays, even if it means I have to chart that number myself. Abraham told me there's no way that's going to happen. I'm going to be out there as much of the game as I normally do, Chris.
All right, Andrea, thank you. We'll get back to you up in balmy. It could be 90 degrees Buffalo today. Sellout crowd, 73,000, all excited about Drew Bledsoe. I mean, can he be the guy that we saw for the last 2 minutes of the AFC Championship game, the last minutes of the first half? Can he be a messiah, Steve, or not?
No question about it. I talked to Drew last night, and he feels like he's so grateful that the psychological circus is over from last year. He feels relieved. He feels renewed. But the problem I see is that he and Kevin Gilbride want to throw it deep. And I mean, yesterday he was telling me, all I care about is getting the ball deep. I got these great receivers in Peerless Price and Eric Moulds. Let me get going. The problem, the lack of mobility. We know that the dynamic position of quarterback, you're going to have to be able to move around. I'm afraid for his health, Coach.
I'll tell you what, Steve, I disagree with you. This guy can win. You put enough guys around him, he can drive that Cadillac very comfortably. I've seen him do it. Only problem is, I don't think Buffalo has a Cadillac right now. And as you wait a minute, as you guys both know, even the great Steve Young, when he was in Tampa, could not drive a Ford.
One thing I think we all can agree on, he holds on to the football too long. He takes too many hits.
He's going to be more patient
and
today.
He said he's going to be more patient with the football. The last 2 years that he played, he got sacked 100 times. If that keeps happening, it'll be Tom, Coach, Steve, Drew,
now, so wait a minute. So we just want him to go back there and heave it. Right?
I want him to throw the ball to Larry. I want him to throw it to Larry Centers. Best receiving back by the numbers that's ever played football.
But if they go 8-8, then he's done his job. They've had a heck of a season. Yeah. Meanwhile, for the Jets, who could go 23-0, by the way, if they go on and win the Super Bowl, they open with, I just said they could, at Buffalo, New England, at Miami. 3 divisional games to start the year for the Jets, an early barometer for that team. We'll be back.
Ahead on Countdown.
Brett Favre may be ready for the Falcons defense, but was he ready for Kenny Mayne? We'll put Favre's acting to the test.
And all of them play for the University of Illinois at Memorial Stadium. Today, the Bears begin their seasons in that facility because of a $632 million renovation project underway at Venerable Soldier Field. Now, that's scheduled to be completed before next season, but until then, the Bears are playing their home games amid the open fields and the grain silos, closer actually to Indianapolis than they are to Chicago. Bears are playing on the south side of Chicago, all right, 138 miles south to be exact, as they open up against their Norris Division rivals, the Minnesota Vikings. So for a little champagne brunch, if you will, let's go to Ed Werder. Happy opening day, Ed.
Same to you, Chris. And, you know, one similarity between Memorial Stadium and Soldier Field, the columns on the facade outside the stadium. But, of course, ultimately, the only thing that matters is the number in the win column. And if the Bears are going to duplicate their success of last season, they'll have to be the best road team in the NFL. They're the only ones playing all 16 games away from home. I spoke to Bears general manager Jerry Angelo last night. He said how his team handles this unique situation represents their greatest unknown. The Bears' first touchdown of this season was highly unusual, much like some of the fluke scoring plays and narrow victories that defined their season a year ago. A 25-minute flight and 2 bus rides just to reach the team hotel for the home opener.
When you're at home, it's home. You know, you relax, you know, jeans or whatever. Now let's get on the plane, flying in a suit, getting off the plane, checking in a hotel, boarding the plane, you know, all that.
It'll be mental, but I think this team is mentally strong. You know, we've got a lot of people after us right now. We have other things to focus on other than champagne.
The Bears are convinced they'll have no fewer supporters than the 67,000 frenzied voices who supported them at Soldier Field. That's because they have a strong fan base throughout the state, and Memorial Stadium has permanent seating for nearly 71,000 fans.
It'll be just like a home game. We've got downstate fans, and actually the Memorial Stadium gets a little bit louder than Soldier Field, so I don't think it'll pose a problem at all.
As long as we do something to keep them behind us and keep them loud, it should work really well, and we're looking forward to it. We know that we'll have a great fan support in Champaign, so we know we'll have a home field advantage. That's a big factor. So it's not like playing 16 road games for us. You know, we'll have the home base support, but we are traveling every weekend.
But one of the other adjustments the Bears have to make is they're not a particularly fast team, and they're going to be playing on this Astro Play surface. And as you can see, the fibers are extremely long. The Bears were built to play on natural grass and in cold weather. And initially, they had a lot of problems, Boomer, with the footing as they tried to make the adjustment to this surface. And that's the reason this surface is an unusual thing in the NFL. Mike Tice actually took the Vikings players over to the University of Minnesota where they have this and had each player test out 4 different kinds of shoes for today's game.
Well, things will certainly be different for Chicago, and they're great fans who will travel anywhere to see the Bears, Ed. We'll get back to you a little later on. Remember the Giants in the 70s, a couple of years at the Yale Bowl, 70, 80 miles, but this is a long trip. Sterling, kind of like you guys always at the Packers played those Milwaukee games, which then ended while Mike Holmgren was there, but does it remind you?
It was a little jumbled up there early on in my career, but we finally got used to it. And, you know, I get the pleasure of hosting this small segment
Don't tell
where
me
I get to jump out of character. And as you can see, I will be the new host of Sunday Countdown, so please tune in for that. But I want to talk to you today, for you Viking fans, I want to talk to you today about something called the Randy ratio. Now, the Randy ratio is going to be this. Last season, the Vikings had a 5-11 record. They thought when they did a study this year, coming into the season, when they threw Randy Moss 40% of the passes, their record was 4-1. When they didn't, their record was 1-10. So what they want to do in 2002 is this. They want Randy Moss to have 2 catches per quarter, 8 catches per game, which means about 14 to 16 throws a game, and they want him to come out of the season with probably at least 128 catches. And that's going to equate to this. And Steve Young let the cat out of the bag on Thursday night, that the NFL may see its first 2,000-yard receiver. 2 reasons why this can happen. There's no Chris Carter opposite Randy Moss to take some of those questions, and let's face it, last season, the Vikings defense, horrible.
Coming up on Countdown.
Most of us aren't terribly fond of, but he's got it written into his contract. It's called matchups.
authored by Mr. Waddle here, who attempts, and of course the key word always is attempts.
You still playing Zanies on the weekends?
To break down the game.
2 shows nightly?
Yeah, no cover really. Tommy, it's all yours. What do you got for us today?
Well, as usual, the burden falls to me. Folks, did you expect any insight out of this guy? I mean, for crying out loud, he was the captain of his high school diving team. As usual, I am up to the task, as are the Bears. Well, we found out a few things over the last 4 weeks now, didn't we? Tight end is still an ignored position. There is little depth behind the A train, and the problem at left tackle remains unsolved. But as the 2002 season kicks off, the offensive positives far outweigh the negatives. Jim Miller has proven that he has the arm strength and intelligence to be the one running the show. And while Bernard Robertson struggles, the others up front will once again look to lead the league in protecting their quarterback. Des White has parlayed a strong camp into a starting role and should take the double teams off of Marty Booker. With the return of Marcus Robinson, the Bears should be explosive and deep in the passing game. But let us not forget, Anthony Thomas is still the center of John Shoop's universe. Across the field, keep a lookout for the Randy ratio. New coach Mike Tice has announced that 40% of Dante Culpepper's passes will be thrown Moss's way this year. That plan may keep Moss involved and motivated, but the key to their offense is Michael Bennett. If the Vikings can effectively run the ball, they will be hard to slow down. Overall, the Vikings are a bit more explosive. They get the edge. The water is a bit murkier for the Minnesota defense. After ranking next to last against the run last season, they went shopping for help, found a stout run-stuffing left end in Kenny Mixon. Behind Mixon, the Vikings will start 3 new linebackers with very little NFL experience. It doesn't get any better in the secondary, where Pro Bowl safety Robert Griffith left for Cleveland. It's a much happier story for Greg Blanche. Big Ted and Keith Traylor will once again clear a path for the best linebacking core in football. Rosie Colvin is looking for more quarterbacks and a big free agent payday at season's end. The only question mark is in the secondary, where Mike Green and Jerry Azuma have been promoted to the starting lineup. Their transition could be helped by a more improved pass rush. Folks, this is no contest. Big edge Bears. As for today's key matchup, if I'm calling the shots, RW will follow Randy Moss everywhere. But since I'm a few credits short of my coordinator degree, it's not up to me, and Jerry Azuma may find himself locked up with Moss. That's a mismatch the Vikings will look to exploit. The special team should once again be a strength for the Bears. Paul Edinger continues to hold off the competition, while Brad Maynard looks to repeat last year's tremendous performance. The Vikings have waved goodbye to Mitch Berger and Gary Anderson, and hello to a host of kicking problems. Big edge Bears. Starting today, we find out if last year was a fluke or a sample of what's to come. I'm banking on the latter. The Bears will control the clock, punish you with their defense, win the battle of field position, and hit their kicks. It won't be glamorous, but it will be efficient. And while the league has reshuffled, the objective remains the same. Control your division. Today, they will do just that. Bears 24, Vikings 13. I smell an Emmy.
The wit and wisdom of Tom Wild. I'm with you. I think the Bears are going to win. I came out and said 20-13, so I'm pretty close. And the Bears' rushing defense, as we all know, very strong last year, second best in the NFL. And in a continuing effort to neutralize Randy Moss, that's a big factor.
Absolutely provides them a luxury. They don't have to drop their safeties into the tackle box to account for Michael Bennett, which means one of these guys, either Mike Green or Mike Brown, can drop back and help out McQuarters and Azuma back there. As I said, it's a luxury a lot of teams don't.
Against Detroit, maybe he's warming up his passing arm. I don't know. Dave wants that. Hope he warms up his feet, because in 3 years as a New Orleans Saint, remember Mike Ditka gave up the whole '99 draft to get him. That's what he did. Now, I don't know if he's going to make Miami fans forget Larry Zonka. They're hoping he won't. They're hoping they make him forget Jim Kick, and that might not even work. But we'll see. Today, Miami opens up at home against Detroit, who, coming off 2-14, it should be a nice way to open for Miami, since they're almost automatic. I mean, Miami has won 10 straight opening day games back to '92. But look, the Miami Dolphins, Ricky Williams, one of the, if you pick 3 or 4 or 5 subjects from the offseason, here it is. Is he good enough to make them not only a playoff team, but to go, Tom?
This kid's got a lot of pressure on him. The weight of the world comes with the Miami Dolphins right now. It didn't get better during the preseason. Quarterback's got an injured hip. They don't know exactly how he's going to play. A lot of changes on the defensive side of the ball, but I think all our viewers now understand the salary cap. Here's what we know. In 2003, this team will be dismantled.
You're talking about $30 million in 2 corners and 2 linebackers. You're talking about a $7 million defensive tackle that's in the last year of his deal. So what you're saying basically is it is now or never for this football team, because finally their offense is looking better than their defense.
Hey, 3 coaches have now put stock in this guy. As Chris said, Dick mortgaged the franchise. Haslett wanted his own guy, Deuce McAllister, and now it's Wannstedt. This stamps the Dave Wannstedt era in Miami. If he wins, he's on his way. If he loses, he's on his way, too.
If he loses, it'll be...
He's just not going to the same place.
No, if he loses, it'll be Chris, me, Coach Wannstedt, Drew.
2 coaches. That's what we have, more coaches.
I think the question with Miami is, how do they score touchdowns? You make a great point, Coach. Can they run it in with Ricky Williams? That's the only way I think this team contends, is if they can run it in the end zone with Ricky Williams, because they don't have a dynamic enough offense to score enough.
Well, that's why they got Norv Turner.
I don't think they have the talent, the ability to put it in the end zone. That's the big question.
Chambers might help that.
Yeah, he'll help it, no question.
Gaston, McKnight, they have some skilled people.
Yes.
If Ricky Williams is successful and if Jay Fiedler can come off this hip and throw the football.
Yes.
Well, if they get off to a fast start, which they have, they certainly have for a long time. We told you about the opening day. They got the Jets and they got New England at home in the heat, all in the first 5 weeks of the season. So it's set up.
8 straight losses to the Jets.
Well, I know that.
That's home and away.
Well,
Heat or no heat.
Well, Ricky or no Ricky.
Yeah, exactly.
Light or dark.
Ricky or no Ricky, they need to lose that number with Ricky. We'll be back in a moment.
Coming up next on NFL Countdown.
We'll be with Emmitt Smith as he begins his pursuit of sweetness. Who was his favorite teammate of all time? The answer may surprise you. We'll look at Brett Favre's incredible acting skills.
Well, yeehaw! Rope them up, and here come the Houston Texans tonight. And you saw their young quarterback, David Carr, his first season as first pick overall in the draft. Since Troy Aikman, here's how the guys did in their first season. Of course, Troy was on a rebuilding team in Dallas that rebuilt in a hurry after that. I think we remember Drew Bledsoe in New England, Coach. We certainly, Peyton Manning's first year in Indianapolis was no great shakes, and Tim Couch struggled as well. Michael Vick, more on him in a moment. So David Carr, new team, #1 pick. How much can they expect? We'll see tonight at 8:30 as they begin against their cross-state foe, the Dallas Cowboys, here on ESPN. But, Mort, how about them Cowboys? What we're really thinking about, and all eyes in Texas here on the #1 pick for Dallas 1990, Emmitt Smith, about to be an immortal, if he's not already in football.
About to be an immortal. I can remember back in 1990 when Jimmy Johnson drafted Emmitt Smith. He actually turned to owner Jerry Jones, looking at his size, 5'9", 205 pounds, and said, we'll give him the ball a whole lot, and we'll need to draft another one in 5 years. In fact, Jimmy Johnson only lasted 5 years, and Emmitt Smith is going on his 13th season. And in this, over the years, I've been able to talk to Emmitt about a lot of things, but on this season, in this season, which he's running for Walter Payton's record, I was able, for the first time, to get the best of Emmitt Smith on the record.
I think they're looking for 22.
That could be the best.
Smith, a cutback coming right. Breaks a tackle. Cuts back left. Breaks another.
The best.
Vintage Emmitt Smith.
The best.
As good a run as Emmitt Smith has made all year.
What does being the best mean to you?
When I think of being the best, I think of looking at how I feel about what I've done and what I've been able to accomplish. Best game I ever played in. Wow.
Emmitt Smith dances to the end zone.
Probably Green Bay on Thanksgiving Day with Jason Garrett as the quarterback. And we fought hard to come back and end up winning.
What best game you've ever had?
Best game I've ever had in terms of stat-wise.
It's a foot race.
Stat-wise, I would say probably in high school against Milton.
Emmitt Smith is going 91 yards.
But for personal reasons, I would have to say the New York Giants game back in '93, I believe. I hurt my shoulder, so I had to play a whole half with a messed up shoulder. I had to dig deep. deeper than I thought I could go.
Our best run.
Best run. I think the best run I've had probably was against Atlanta. I bounced up inside to get hit by Jesse Tugwit by 2 linebackers. They thrust me outside. I went up the sideline for the touchdown. Dion knocked me out in the end zone.
Best teammate.
Best teammate, I think, has to be Mike Irvin.
The only way we're going to get what we want to get is everybody be held accountable.
I think he makes everybody on the football field better.
Best blocker.
Best blocker. Now you ask me the terror between Larry Allen and Daryl Johnston. I got to have all of them up front. It's a tie between Daryl Johnston and Larry Allen.
Best running back of all time.
Walter Payton. Still. Right now.
What was it like for you to receive the Spirit of Sweetness Award?
When you get something from a person or a family that represents truly what the game means, a person that was dedicated to excellence.
It was a wonderful feeling because I felt like the award signifies and embodied everything that the Payton family, Walter himself, actually demonstrates in life. I think he was a character person. It meant a lot to me.
And it showed. You were emotional.
Yeah, because I think of myself in the same way.
When you really think about being only 540 yards behind Walter, what does that mean to you?
That means that I have a tremendous opportunity to do something that no man has ever done.
Now, are the Cowboys just going to get Emmett the record and then get him out of there and let Troy Hambrick take over? I really believe that's up to Emmett. If Emmitt Smith is running effectively and if he looks like a 1,200-yard runner, then Emmitt Smith will keep his job. He, in fact, Chris, says he wants the race for 20,000 yards. Will it be in Dallas or somewhere else?
Wow. He dressed up nice for you, Mort.
Oh, he did, yeah. Well, you do when you sit down with me.
Yeah, right. I understand. He looked nice. Good job, Mortimer. But I mean, look, it's obvious Emmett's great. What makes him so special to you, Tommy?
Well, the longevity along with the greatness. It took so much criticism when it asked about Terrell Davis, Hall of Famer, not a Hall of Famer. I said, I didn't think he played long enough. This is what greatness is about. The consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, the rushing yards, which he's going to hold the title, the rushing touchdowns, the attempts, which very few people talk about. I think that when you start measuring greatness, don't measure from the bottom up. People say, how did Leroy Kelly get into the Hall of Fame? How did Emmett get in, and how close am I to Emmitt Smith?
Right. Ooh, that's very good. And not to mention, he did it on turf. And he's about to do something. This is kind of like Tiger Woods at the Masters. Emmitt Smith is about to post a number never before posted in the National Football League. Right. So that is truly amazing.
You know, I remember when Walter, and I interviewed Walter Payton at the time. It was about a week before he broke the record, which was Jim Brown. And what was 12, whatever, and Walter said at the time, I said, what do you think you can end up with? 15, 16, 17. Let me try and put it as high as I can to give those guys something to shoot for. Right. Sounds like Emmett's doing the same thing. Oh, yeah. Which, pretty impressive.
Talent plus durability.
Yeah. Little talent involved there, too, huh?
Little talent.
He's a tough guy. I mean, he could get a third of those yards that he needs tonight, by the way. I mean, he could. Does he need 5, whatever? The third of them could be right here in Houston as the Texans open up their career and Emmett extends his marvelous one. How about them? Everybody from Texas, Cowboys and Texans, 8:30 following NFL primetime in its usual tee-off time at 7:30 Eastern. Starting his second NFL season as a #1 overall draft pick, we just saw him, and fully installed as the starter this year for the Atlanta Falcons. That's Michael Vick. He'll try to weave his magic at Lambeau Field against the Packers. Always tough for any visitor, even long before the tundra gets frozen. True, last year, the Pack's only home loss came to the Falcons, 23-20. Chris Chandler, now a Bear, was quarterback. But a year after their resurgence to 12-4, the Pack are thinking Super Bowl. They may have the team to do it. And the main reason is always #4, Brett Favre. Now just 13 touchdown passes shy of 300 for his career, just 3 shy of Johnny Unitas' 290, which will put him 5th all time. Favre can also set a record for fakes. What? Kenny Mayne joins us. He'll join us every week. Hopefully you caught him Thursday night with Michael Strahan. Today, Kenny tells Favre is quite a faker.
He is the first one on the practice field, alone in his world, alone to perfect his craft. He is a great faker. He makes fools of his opponents. No one jumps in the air and fakes a pass after handing off like Brett Favre. The Packers' chances for another world championship rest in the hands of one man, this man. You gotta like the Packers' chances.
I have the sky hook, this one, or the jump. I do a bowling one. You come back and one of those, or this one, I'll shotgun, I'll hand off, and I'll go with no ball. The defensive end, he'll go. I just start laughing. I'm like, what in the hell does he think I'm doing?
What about the one where I've seen it before where you hand off and then you're not even looking and you go like this? Like, you typically wouldn't throw that pass, would you?
Sure I would. I've thrown this ball before.
I think I've seen that.
I've thrown this ball before. If you're going to do a fake, you got to be able to make that throw.
He underhands it to Green for a touchdown.
I'm starting to see every quarterback in the league do these fakes. I'm even seeing guys in college do it.
At Vince Lombardi Middle School, the Brett Favre faking drill is an essential element of the tackle football program. Young quarterbacks practice for hours at a time, emulating the greatest faker in the game.
Blue 58, set.
Favre's abundant acting skills on the field were noticed by Hollywood producers. The story goes that production on There's Something About Mary began only after a deal was reached with Favre.
What the hell is Brett Favre doing here?
I'm in town to play the Dolphins, you dumbass.
He takes it very seriously. You know, I guess he studied in Mississippi.
I don't like to talk about it a whole lot, but, you know, those ballet lessons came in real handy when I was 12, but...
In Mississippi?
In Mississippi.
He decided that he wanted to play himself, but with another layer to it, that we never understood what the other layer was, but he just said he wanted to put another layer on it. We said, okay, fine.
That's right, Mayor. You know I'll always be true to you.
Did Cameron Diaz hit on you?
Of course you did. So did Ben Stiller.
I would love to do some sort of like a buddy comedy with Brett.
Driving across the country?
Yeah, like he's, you know, an NFL quarterback, and I'm this guy. He picked up hitchhiking.
You see all the names up there? Jim Ringo, Herb Adderley. One day, it'll say Brett Favre up there.
Master of deception.
Exactly, the greatest faker. Is that what you want to be known for? Is that your legacy?
Well, you've got to be remembered for something.
Thank you, Kenny. With us every week. Brett Favre, the ultimate faker, huh? The ultimate actor. Steve, let's move right along to a guy that Favre is playing today, Michael Vick. You spent a little time with him in the offseason, much ballyhoo. What did you see there?
I did, Boom. You know, what I saw was one of the most dynamic and athletic quarterbacks in a generation. The problem is that a lot of quarterbacking is about footwork and mechanics. Let me give you an example. Michael Vick is so quick dropping back that he gets to the back of his drop, and the plays hasn't happened. It hasn't developed enough. His players aren't ready for him, so he ends up patting the ball, starting to run too early. And, you know, think about it, Coach. You talked about footwork and mechanics, how they work with accuracy as well.
Right, and two of the most common errors you're going to see is the overstriding. The ball usually sails high when the quarterback overstrides, or the short step, and the ball goes down to the quarterback's feet, as you're going to see on the video. Now, this first example, Michael Vick, long stride, high release, ball over the receiver's head. Even Sterling couldn't have caught that one. This one, little pressure, backs out, short step, down to the receiver's feet.
You know, Coach, I think about a football play for quarterbacks in two halves. The second half is outside the pocket as it breaks down. Michael Vick needs no help on that. He's got all the dynamic ability, all the athletic ability. What he needs to work on is the first half, from the snap to the back of the drop. The mechanics and footwork is what it's truly all about. And it's not necessarily, mechanics and footwork are not about athletic ability and speed. It's about just putting the time in with the footwork. And you know what? As Sterling and Tommy both know, quarterbacks in the NFL have to do one thing.
Get the ball out of your hands.
Would you put the ball on the other shoulder, please? So I would have retired 10 years earlier if I had to coach a lefty.
Coach, you love lefties. I know it.
Still ahead. It seems like 10 years ago that Eddie George was healthy and the Titans were in the Super Bowl. Wait till you see the off-season training program the Tennessee runner put himself through to try to get back.
I think this is the best one we've ever had. This is cool, this field.
It looks like it from, you know, and this is the way we want to watch football. On this coat and tie stuff that I'm wearing, it's not, you're finally on Sunday able to wear what you want watching football, huh?
Yeah, I know it, and that's going to really be different because it's been, I mean, I don't know the last time that I had a Sunday free to watch football. We have to be talking 30-some years ago because I went right from, you know, coaching in the NFL to broadcasting in the NFL, and haven't had many Sundays since.
Well, we're glad that you're with us this and every Sunday. You know, we're all looking for Cinderellas. You and I talked about it Thursday night at halftime of the 49ers-Giants game, and are there a bunch of Cinderellas out there this year, a la New England last year, John?
You know, it has to be some team you don't know, Chris, because, I mean, if you look, you know, the Rams 3 years ago, the Patriots last year, they came from nowhere, so it has to really be a team that's nowhere. I know I mentioned some teams like the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if I'd still mention them now that Tim Couch is out. I mentioned the Washington Redskins, but probably if you were going to do it, if you would take that AFC South and just pick a team from there, you know, whether it be Tennessee or Indianapolis, that would probably be a pretty good one because you know that that's a division that none of those teams were in the playoffs. Every other division in realignment had a team that was in the playoff last year other than that division. So someone from that division is going to be in the playoffs, and that team is going to be the team that wasn't in the playoffs a year ago, so that could be the team that is going to do it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do know. Nobody was even 500, but if you think of Tennessee and Indy, see, I agree with you. They're really kind of fake Cinderellas because 2 years ago they were good, but I'm with you on those two teams, and one of those teams could have a great record. Hey, you mentioned Washington. I mean, there is not that much buzz made through August like the buzz that was made about the way the Redskins and Steve Spurrier were scoring points. Is he going to be is this offense just going to befuddle teams for a while, you think?
No. I think that the defenses are going to be ahead of his offense right away. But I think Steve Spurrier is going to be successful. I mean, to me, there are college coaches that are college coaches, and there are pro coaches that are coaching in college. And Steve Spurrier, to me, was always a pro. I mean, he was a pro as a player. He coached in the USFL, and he took a pro offense and used it in college, and now he's just bringing that same offense back into the pro. So I think his offense is going to work. I still think he needs a few players, and I think that he may need a quarterback to make that offense work because those defensive coordinators, they've been watching what he's doing, and when it starts to count, like today, they're going to have a lot of stuff for that offense.
Absolutely. Speaking of today, what overall are you looking for today? What do you think might happen league-wide today, John? Anything?
I think a couple things. One, you know, the first game of the season, special teams always win some games because teams aren't ready to play special teams. And you're going to see more punt returns, kick returns, block kicks, those types of things. If you were ever an underdog and you were going to steal a game, this is the place to steal a game. Generally, in the first game of the season, and specifically in the kicking game. And then the other thing, I think a lot of these things are going to go into the third and fourth quarter. That it looks like to me the way teams, you know, take on preseason now, they only play a quarter here, a quarter there. They don't really practice, you know, where they use pads and scrimmage and those types of things. And I don't know that they're ready to play the third and fourth quarter.
Let's move to your game Monday night. Can you remember, look, a lot of people didn't think Baltimore as defending champ a year ago was unbelievable, but still, I think they got more respect, if you will, than the Patriots. They're still like a Cinderella in a lot of people's minds. Isn't that what you're hearing?
Yeah, but I don't understand it. I mean, you know, I know not in your mind. I know not in my mind. I mean, I watched them, you know, a year ago I did the Super Bowl, and I was there, and what they did to the Rams on that Sunday, I thought, you know, they were a great team. And I watched them in a championship game against the Steelers, and they're the same team, plus maybe a few better players. And they're not going to go from being a champion to being in the middle of the pack. I don't believe that because, I mean, that nothing has happened that would show you that that's what's going to happen to the Patriots. I think, you know, I mean, I was just at their practice and, you know, talking to their players and coaches, and I'll tell you, this is one confident team. And they're using those things. You know, oh, no one believes in us, poor us, you know, and all that stuff. They're using that to get themselves ready. And and they're as ready to start a season as any team I've ever seen.
You and I are believing it, but they're not quoting you and I, so they're using all the others. You're going to have a great scene, a new stadium, defending champs against a team that thinks they should have been there. Best of luck on opening night and all year on Monday Night Football, John.
Well, thank you, Chris, and it's a pleasure to be with you.
We're glad we can join you every Sunday. I might move in with you one of these Sundays. Thanks.
Come on aboard. Mi casa, su casa.
Well, whatever language you want to speak, thank you, John, which in this day and age is almost impossible to do. So last year they lose in the title game. Do they get to the final step this year, Coach?
I got news for the Eagle fans. They're not going to be as good. And here are 3 reasons why. Ooh. They wanted Terrell Buchalter to be the starting running back instead of Deuce Staley.
Hurt.
He's out. Okay. The only big defensive lineman they have, Hollis Thomas, he's out. Troy Vincent's missing this week, but he'll be back. But here's the kicker on the whole thing. Their most productive defensive player, a guy they didn't have to take off the field this year, is now playing middle linebacker for the Redskins, their biggest division rival.
And this is a defense that was 18th against the run last year with Jeremiah Trotter in Washington. Oh, so what you're saying is this going to be good? Okay, I got to watch. Got to watch. I got to watch San Diego because of what Steve said, and I got to watch Philly because of what Coach said.
Well, wait a second. The one upside for Philly is that, what did Andy Reid say? The most improved player on the team, Donovan McNabb, because I think he's finally starting to understand the West Coast system, that is directly tied to the quarterback's feet and the receiver's routes, and that timing is finally starting to take place. So wait,
tied to the receiver's hands too.
I have heard that their best receiver, they just signed about a month ago in Antonio Freeman, who just got there.
I'm telling you, with timing, anything's possible, Coach. Talk about the West Coast just a little bit.
I don't like any team that's a one-player reliant team. And right now, Philly is a one-player reliant team.
Let me ask you something. Have we won with an old Packer? Would you say that we've been a winning team with him?
Yeah.
Right? They got Levens.
Yeah.
They got Antonio Freeman.
Okay.
So shouldn't that?
They weren't as good as Sterling.
Yeah, but what are the old Eagles? And what are the old Eagles doing to help that? Well, I mean, at least they had some old guys to help me, when we won with the old Packer.
That's new line and old ball.
A lot of DBs. Yeah, good call.
They get a lot of DBs. They're going to make that final step. I agree with everything you said.
Hey, you know what? Andy Reid, Dave Wannstedt, Andy Reid.
Me and Andy, we need a big set. We will be back, mercifully.
It'll be a complete...
Still to come. The mere mention of his name draws the best and the worst of reaction.
None bigger than Philadelphia. Do they solely rely on McNabb to deliver the big plays?
Well, you have to question, have they done enough in the offseason to supplement Donovan McNabb? And I don't think anyone questions either one of these quarterbacks. We're going to get the answer to a lot of questions today. A, can the Philadelphia Eagles stop the run? They bring in Kirkland and Bishop. They're thin at the defensive tackle position. They're $9.5 million under the salary cap. Why not make a run at a Sam Adams? They're thin at the wide receiver position from a production standpoint. They bring in Antonio Freeman. McCardle was out there. If this is a team that's ready to take the next step, they go to the NFC Championship last year, why not go out and get somebody to make that final run?
Yeah, I look at Philadelphia finishing 11-5 the last 2 years, and everybody still jumps on that wagon. And I'm one of those guys who sits back and says, you know what, all right, 2 years in a row now, all right, so make it happen. I'm tired of hearing about it. McNabb, 2 fine young quarterbacks. Nothing drives a defensive coordinator crazier than a quarterback with athletic skills like running. So, fellas, don't listen to those guys. Forget what they say. And all I want to know, all I say is, Jimmy, is that it's Unitas to Berry, it's Namath to Maynard, Bradshaw to Stallworth. And when I think of McNabb, it's McNabb to what? I don't know. They need a stand-up receiver for Philadelphia to make that next step.
Besides that, Terry, everybody, all these young quarterbacks, they grow up and they want to be a pocket passer. The game has changed. Because of the zone blitz, you really need a quarterback that's going to move around to buy some time for the receivers. And that's because of the zone blitz. And these quarterbacks can do it. They have to understand that's what every coach is looking for, a quarterback that can move, buy some time, make some big plays. If McNabb stays in the pocket, they're not going to have near as many big plays.
Unitas and Starr would have a hard time making it in this league today. The Bradshaws, too.
Coming up,
Zone blitz.
Michael Irvin, known as a playmaker. Also a guy who is called cocky, egotistical, disarmingly arrogant, and
Down in Miami, Dolphins and Lions. James Stewart of the Lions expected to start. tweaked his left knee in warm-ups, and he is no-go. Lamont Warren will start in his place. And then Ricky Williams, he's going to be running on some shaky turf. Dave Wanstead checking it out. They had rain at Pro Player Stadium. They played a college game on Saturday. That's not a good situation. It'll be straight ahead running for Ricky Williams. In Green Bay, Mike Vick has a surprise starting receiver. Willie Jackson, a midsummer pickup on the free agent market, is replacing Sean Jefferson as the starting wide receiver. And then in Nashville, hey, Donovan McNabb's magic aside, Jeff Fisher pulled aside Steve McNair a little while ago and reminded him that the quarterback with the most rushing yards is likely to win this game. And then Denver, hey, Mike Shanahan isn't telling Clinton Portis or Orlando Scary, let alone the media and his coaches, who's going to be the starter. They won't find out, the players themselves, until about an hour before the game. That's it.
Time at 7:30 Eastern tonight. Tommy and I will, hey, labor of love right here. Tune in. We'll show you everything that happened leading up to our game between Dallas and Houston. Okay, guys, San Diego, last Sunday in January. Sleeper and Super Bowl team.
Well, my sleeper's got to be my old coach, Mike Holmgren in Seattle. That's got to be my sleeper. And I'm going with the Super Bowl in San Diego. I'm going with the Tennessee Titans, and that's the last place that the Green Bay Packers lost. Just like New England, they went and avenged the loss in New Orleans. Green Bay goes back and avenges that loss to the Denver Broncos, but this time they beat the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, you homer.
I am.
Come on. Hey, my sleeper is, hey, look, I don't think they're going to go all the way, but Detroit's going to be a vastly improved team under Marty Mornhinweg. I know I'm the only one to say that. And my Super Bowl picks, St. Louis Rams, it's the San Francisco 49ers. They messed that up. Terrell Owens will be the MVP. San Francisco. Terrell Owens will be the MVP. San Francisco and Denver with Steve Berline. Someone's got to be the backup quarterback that takes the team to the Super Bowl this year.
My sleeper, Denver. They can run it, and they're deep at receivers. My Super Bowl picks, Green Bay and New England, because I'm a believer in New England.
Coach, my sleeper been asleep for a long time. The Cincinnati Bengals been asleep for over a decade. But this could be the year they have everything if the quarterback plays well.
Which one?
Justin Rod, John Kinder, doesn't matter. Ackley Smith. And my Super Bowl pick, Tennessee and the St. Louis Rams. There's parity, and then there's the Rams.
They're kind of a false sleeper, Indianapolis. All I say it because they won 6 last year. We know they're a much better team than that. If Edgerrin, and we haven't seen him play, if Edgerrin James even close to 100%, I believe that team that wins that division, them or Tennessee, amasses a huge record. But I'm going with New England because when do you get a Super Bowl champ that nobody still believes in? And I'm going Philly. I know Coach agrees with half of my pick. You disagree with the other, but New England
really disagrees with both your picks.
No, he's not.
Hey, well, you got more faith than Moses on that one right there.
Did they have Edwin?
Edwin Moses.
Well, an overall theme for today. Any player jump out and make a name? Anybody opening day?
I don't know of one player, but the Green Bay wide receivers. Pay attention to them.
All right. Tom Jackson. Bill Parcells.
I need an IV after 2 hours with him.
Yeah, Sterling Sharp, Chris Borton, I'm Chris Berman. Thanks for watching. The President will be
It's my pleasure to help kick off the 83rd season of the National Football League. Today, the excitement starts all over again, and the tradition continues. In stadiums all across America, some of our nation's finest athletes will again take part in one of the world's...
Crazy week 1 of NFL primetime. You want fantastic finishes? You got it. No one circles the wagons like Bledsoe's Bills, except maybe the Jets special teams. Pack and Falcons fly into OT. We'll tell you how this bizarre finish went down. A new era underway in Oakland. Father Ayers, former coach, has his hands full at the new sombrero. The Broncos shut down Marshall. Tony's triple threat returns to play. And Ricky's running wild through Miami. Don't try to run. Don't get up. NFL primetime. Next. NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite. Primetime is Miller time. And now, here's your host, Chris Berman.
Well, we're going to open a football season. We're going to have some nail-biters. Yeah, I think so. Hi, everybody. Chris Berman along with Tom Jackson. Where are you over there?
That's the closest I've been to you for a while. That's a good deal.
Well, I got to tell you, you were right, Tom. The defense would be ahead of the offense, just like it was on Thursday.
Right,
well, maybe
right.
not. But what
Can you recall an opening day like this?
No, not when the offense has played this well, when we saw so much scoring, when we saw so much practical craziness that went on during the course of a first Sunday weekend.
It was unbelievable. And obviously, where should we start? Where should we start? Why don't we go to one of the famed houses of the National Football League with an up-and-comer against the old master, the frozen, not yet frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Not yet frozen, it's almost 120 degrees. It's the warmest opening day ever at Lambeau. Packers down 14-3 to Atlanta, the only team that beat them at home there last year. And it's Favre to David Martin. Whoop! That's the Lambeau banana peel. Now he recovers and gets in there. It's 14-10, Atlanta. Michael Vick. Now, do you think he's going to be fun to watch, Tom?
Well, what a showing by Mike Vick today. This is his third start in the NFL, but he's starting this season knowing that he's going to be the quarterback. We're going to put in the arrows here. Amelia and Joe Johnson coming from the upper side of the screen. They look like they have it boxed in. Michael Vick steps through, makes a positive play out of a negative play. That's what he's going to be able to do for the Atlanta Falcons. Here, down the middle, accuracy. Ball gets there in a hurry. Nice balance on his throw. Steps in. Bob Christian, 55 yards down the middle of the football field.
Bob's sister Christian, the Night Ranger. And then look at this.
When he rolls, the defense responds to it, comes up to the line of scrimmage. He hits his tight end, Crumpler, in the back of the end zone.
And he's 10 for 10 at this stage. Michael Vick, what an impressive debut for him in this season. Only his third career start. So Brett Favre says, man, we got to go to work again against these Falcons. Terry Glenn, one of those brought in to beef up the receiving corps. And by the time they catch us, it's 42 yards. 2 catches, 60 yards for Glenn. And then he was a little dizzy on the play, so he just caught 2. Meanwhile, the ensuing Falcon drive, they're up 21-20. Oh, Reggie Kelly, too much steam on the ball.
Yes, throwing a little too hard.
Falcons will get a field goal, 24-20 Atlanta. Next Packer drive, they're into the 13. Number 1 pick, Javon Walker from Florida State. Touchdown, pack. Up 27-24. We're just starting the 4th. Vick to Brian Finneran, and it's a touchdown. Oh, no. Oh, look at Dan Reed. Drive ends in a punt, but the Falcons undaunted next drive. Warwick done. What? Oh, yeah. Warwick, well done. 2 yards, touchdown, 31-27 Atlanta. Minute 40 to go. Amon Green, 3rd down from the 1. He stopped at the 1. Flying. Mike Sherman says, no, the ball does not cross the play. Of course, you got to go. You're down by 4. William Henderson, the fullback. Wait a minute. There's no signal? Now there is. It's a touchdown. And the Packers lead at 34-31. Michael Vick says, okay, I've seen that, master. Let me try this. Looking for Tommy's cousin, Willie Jackson.
On my mother's side.
Oh, yeah, 23 yards. Sets up. Jay, see me, Billy, Goody. 52 yards. We're tied at 34 overtime. That two-headed Curly Lambeau, Vince Lombardi, they're both heads. Pack win the toss. But they go back and forth a couple of times. 8:05 to go in overtime. Amon Green to the 25. Ryan Longwell for the win. 34-yard attempt. Good. It's good. And the Packers, who were 7-1 last year at Lambeau, losing only to Atlanta by 3, this time go to overtime to beat Atlanta 37-34. Favre, almost 300 yards. Michael Vick, in addition to 209 passing, ran for 72.
Great balance by the Green Bay Packers, and I think if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you certainly have to be excited by this effort by Michael Vick.
And Amon Green, was carted off at one point, had 155 yards rushing. All right, there's one over to add. There he is. Hall of Famer Jim Kelly. Nice streak, bro. And so they honor the old quarterback, and here's the new hero in Buffalo. Drew Bledsoe beginning his career as a Buffalo Bill as they play the New York Football Jets. And watch this on reverse to Fearless Price. Drew is going to get right into it. Wham! To Jason Ferguson, Tom, and pretty impressive.
Well, Drew is big, strong, and tough, and wants to get into the action there. He lines up Jason Ferguson, but let's remember, he's a defensive lineman. He's going to get a lot more opportunities to hit you than you him.
Well, Drew doesn't care. It's 3-0 Bill, second quarter. Travis Henry running hard all day. touchdown, 10-0 Buffalo. Bills really controlling the ball for almost the entire first half, except, oh, those Bills special teams. Chad Morton makes the move. At the 45, sheds another, and just outruns everyone else. 98-yard Chad Morton from the touchdown, and the Jets trail 10-7 only because of Morton's heroics. But he was just warming up. 25 seconds ago, the half-inning Testaverde. Curtis, my favorite, Mott. Look out, boom! Keith Newman lowers the boom, sets up a field goal, but Curtis leaves. The good news, X-rays negative on his left ankle, but he did not return. So, 2017 Jets third quarter, Lamont Jordan is back up. Fumble! Bills ball. Buffalo moves down inside the 5. Second and goal. Travis Henry. 3 touchdowns for him, 31 for 149. Buffalo with a packed 73,000 in the house, leading 24-20. Then Bledsoe nailed, stays on his feet to the rookie Josh Reed. He is strong, and he is willful, and he is exciting. What a play by Drew. Still fourth quarter at 24-23, Bills by 1. Bledsoe hanging in. Derek Moles hits 52 yards.
And I think you look at Drew Bledsoe, this is him at his best, boom. When he's hanging in the pocket, waiting for his receivers to come open, he takes a lot of shots, but again, he's a guy who wants to do anything to get his team to be successful offensively.
5 minutes ago, down by 1, Vinny Testaverde picked up by Pearson Purlieu. But, oh my goodness, Eddie Robinson was a great coach, but Tommy was
right there. He clearly grabbed Anthony Beck. The official could not call it. Ball stays with the New York Jets.
And so instead of the pick, the Jets keep the ball, and they get the lead. It's Testaverde to Wayne Corbett. They go for 2, make it 31-24 Jets. Now this time it's the Jets special team. Their only miscue of the day, Damian Robinson drills the punter Brian Moorman, roughing the kicker, gives the ball back to the Bills down 7. 4th and 3. 2 minutes to go. Bledsoe pumping. Finds Peerless Price. 15 yards. First down. 34 seconds left. 4th and 9. Last gasp. Bills again. Bledsoe. Touchdown. Derek Moles. Drew throwing for 271 on 26 of 39. 31-0. We go to overtime. The Jets win the toss. They will elect to receive it. Oh, those Bills special teams. Morton. It's already happened once. It can't happen again, can it? Look at the moves. He's at the 40. No way Hollis is going to get him. Sean Bryson tries. He could go all the way to an opening day win. Touchdown for Herman Edwards. Undefeated preseason. What a start this season. What a job by Chad Morton. Only the 5th in NFL history to have 2 touchdown returns on kicks in the same game. Timmy Brown, old Philly Eagles. Travis Williams, Packers. Ron Brown, 85 Rams. Tyrone Hughes a few years ago, Saints. And he's also only the 2nd. Remember Dave Williams in overtime on Thanksgiving 1980 for Bears against the Lions to win it in overtime. Buffalo played gamely. My God, they controlled the action.
Yeah, and I think Travis Henry gives them a reason to be excited offensively, but I think when you look at their special teams, certainly that has been an Achilles heel for them, going all the way back to the Music City Miracle. In fact, when I commented to Chris, I said, boy, you know, how many different special teams coaches have they had in the last 3 years? He goes, if this continues, we're going to have to add one. So I think you look at the Jets, they know how to win, and the Bills absolutely have to get their special team situation straightened out.
You know, Buffalo has a rough early start.
Yes,
they have 5 rough early games. They could play this well and not fare too well in autumn. But meanwhile, you know, while they're looking at their first win, including preseason, the Jets are now 5-0. Could they go 23-0? I am just asking. When we return, Ricky Williams, debut with Miami, very impressive. Mark Brunell and Peyton Manning go down to the NFL primetime. Continues the Colts of the Jaguars. Tony Dungy's first game as head coach of Indianapolis. They should have a much better defense in a hurry. Meanwhile, hats off to Peyton Manning. Play action to the missile. Padre Ismail, 26 yards. Same drive, Manning, Ismail, and Tommy. He's immediately made his presence felt.
Well, they've been searching for that outside receiver now for 3 years. Wasn't Terrence Wilkins, Jerome Payton. It might be Padre Ismail.
That was a 96-yard drive, and then Marcus Washington. This is why you see his face on the $1 bill. Touchdown as he picks off Mark Brunell, 40 yards. Colts lead 14-7 in Jacksonville. Tom, Edger and James, they try to use him in the passing situation.
Well, in the passing game, the timing seemed a little bit off between he and Peyton Manning. He had an outstanding day running the football, ran for almost 100 yards. You see overthrown just a little bit there. Third quarter finally, right here, James gets the ball. You see that little bit of a shake there, get it up the football field. Boy, do they have to be excited about seeing that.
And meanwhile, it's a fumble. James hits swing pass. He fumbles it, so he's not at the peak yet. But meanwhile, Mark Brunell, 18 yards to Patrick Johnson. And in the third quarter, hello, Jacksonville has the lead. Colts punting third quarter. Damon Gibson. Watch what happens here. What a punt, first of all. Second of all, whoop. Clifton Crosby stills and nashes it for the Colts. Setting up, 3rd and 3. Peyton. There's the missile. Good coverage. Touchdown on the pump fake. 2 to Ishmael, 21-17. But he scored 28-17. Not just yet. Fred Taylor. He had 83 yards. Touchdown. 2-point conversion good. 28-25. Brunell. Last play. Hail Mary, what do you do?
Knock it down.
Or get it at least out of the end zone.
Up in the air. Knock it down.
So Brunell and Manning shaking hands. Manning with the win in the new AFC South. The Colts win it by the score of 28-25, 3 TDs for Peyton.
Yeah, and again, I think you look at Edger and James, they were really worried about his knee and him coming back, and you saw the fumble there and the problems they had in the passing game, but he ran the ball well today.
So there's one big-time runner back. Here's another big-time runner in a new place, Ricky Williams. Dreadlocks out of the helmet, but I tell you what, the football certainly not out of the guy. Takes the handoff, short gain right. Dolphins driving against woeful Detroit. It's a foul ball. You can see it's just foul the third baseline, Tom, but it is a touchdown for Williams. It's 7-0 Miami. Now watch this. The Lions, Chris Cash on a Miami punt. Now this is what happens when you're a team like the Lions. You're off your leg. Touchdown Miami. To Trent Gamble, it's 14-0.
I mean, you're right. Chris Cash trying to do his job right there. It's unavoidable. He's not looking back at the football. Pops off his leg. Dolphins get a touchdown.
28-7 at the half. Then more Ricky Williams. He gets to the corner for the touchdown, 35-7. Then Ricky will bounce outside again, and he can do this, Tom. This can be 38 yards.
Well, this is the run here. He doesn't look for the out of bounds. He's looking to get behind those blockers, and it takes about 6 Lions to get him down on the ground.
Is there a better feel-good story than this? Jay Fiedler passing. Robert Edwards, that's right. The guy that was an outstanding rookie for the Patriots got hurt in that Miami Beach game. Almost had his leg amputated. 3 years out of football. He's back in the NFL. Touchdown, 42-14. And you know what? Here's another touchdown.
Yes, it's a great story.
And we know that Coach Swanstadt gave him and Ricky both game balls. A wonderful story of perseverance. And for the 11th straight opener, Miami has won. 49-21 Detroit, which began the year with 12 straight losses last year, doesn't look good out of the gates this year. We go inside the numbers. 49 points for Miami. The tied for 5th highest scoring output by an opening day team. These were not a good Falcon team in 73. You remember, Tom, Dick Shiner, their rookie year, threw for 3 touchdowns, coupled to the other Kenny Burrow. And but the Dolphins are at least on the board.
Inside the numbers, brought to you by Visa. It's everywhere, NFL fans.
40 yards to become the NFL's all-time leading rusher. He begins his quest tonight. Dallas at Houston and Sunday Night Football at 8:30 Eastern.
Welcome back to NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite.
The Vikings and the Bears playing at University of Illinois. The Bears home away from home in Champaign, Illinois, 138 miles away from Soldier Field being renovated. But Jim Miller to Marty Booker saying, you know what? I got a good arm here in this college campus. 29 yards. Bears lead the Vikings 7-3. Randy Moss, well, new coach Mike Tice of the Mike says, we're going to get you the ball 40% of the time when we go to the air. John Eckhoff, they didn't say how long though, Tom. Here's no gain, although it was a completion. Culpepper, sideline. Hey, little alligator.
Well, alligator arms, but Randy Moss was actually right here not to go after that ball. The safety's coming over the top, and it might have been his last catch of the season had he stretched out to try to get it.
Vikings lead 13, 10 second quarter. It's fumble by Jim Miller. To Lance Sawyer. Recovers it at the 33. So first play after the turnover to Bada Culpepper to Randy Moss. And what? Now he's onto the campus, right over the fence into the campus. Vikings lead 20-10 at the half. Don't tell me the Bears are coming back again.
Well, this was an offense that got a lot of flack last year for not throwing the football down the field. They evidently have changed that. Marty Booker a couple of times today, 40 yards or more down the football field.
And Miller showed a good arm. That set up an Anthony Thomas 1-yard run. The Bears trail 23-20, and then it's not an accident anymore. Number 30, Mike Brown is always around the ball. Under 3 minutes to go. This interception gives the Bears a chance. Miller, there's that arm, Tommy, to Booker. Ooh. But on 3rd and 2, the undaunted Bears, they give it to Leon Johnson. Up the middle for 11 yards. Next play. Jim Miller. Boy, did that team respond to him last year, didn't they, Tom?
Yes, they
Miller
did.
to Booker, 9 yards. 34 seconds to go. First and goal from the 9. David Terrell, touchdown! Touchdown! The Bears have the lead. And what? And then this is, if we have the Lambeau lead, this is the champagne toast. Randy Moss says, you got to be kidding. We had a 10-point lead at half. Terrell is the punter. And the Bears, nothing's changed. Late wins in the division. They're unbelievable. Chicago beats Minnesota 27-23. Booker at 8 for 198, a huge day. Steve Spurrier, first game as NFL head coach, regular season. Into town, the old NFC rival, now NFC West team, Arizona Cardinals. Shane Matthews could not find the space between for the Shane Matthews band. Baron Tanner picks off the deflection, sets up a plumber touchdown, 10-3 Arizona. But the Redskins, who scored more points than anyone in the preseason, here they go. Shane Matthews, Kevin Lockett, 26 yards, tied at 10. What about the linebackers?
Well, let's take a look at each of them. Jesse Armstead here in the middle of the football field. And the thing that you'll notice when you look at all three of them, they are attacking the line of scrimmage. It's an attacking style of defense that Marvin Lewis wants to play with this group. LeVar Arrington, who I think has a chance to be Defensive Player of the Year this year if he plays up to his potential here in coverage. And look at the quickness as he jumps toward the football. And then Jeremiah Trotter, who they got from the Philadelphia Eagles. Jeremiah Trotter in short yardage again. And watch him spot the seam and attack the line of scrimmage. Rule kills the block in front of the ball and kills the play.
And that holds that drive inside the 5 to a field goal. So 17-16 skins, Tom, third quarter. And here is Shane Matthews. Oh, yeah, this time he revs up the bend. Rod Gardner against defenders. Touchdown, 24-16 Washington. Next possession. Here's the fun and gun. Fake reverse. To Zarin Flemister. It's a short game. Oh, those tricky skins. Then Matthews to Darius Thompson. Touchdown, 31-16. Next Redskin kickoff, it's Danny Werfel. No, we're not trying to pass on the kickoff. The Brett Conway, the kicker, had a hamstring cramp. Werfel kicked off, and he also makes the tackle.
Yeah, Werfel's going to come here and right on the sideline, make the play. Quarterback who likes to mix it up.
And how can he be upset? The quarterback kicked and made the tackle. I don't know.
They didn't score.
Right, no, they didn't throw a pass with the quarterback on the field. With the score still 8, Jake Plummer picked off by Champ Bailey. And Steve Spurrier and the Skins win in his opening day. The Redskins win at 31-23 in a day in which Shane Matthews, here it is, 300-yard day passing, 327 to be exact. Sal Paolantonio with the coach.
You know, a game we're behind at half, but we played pretty well most of the game. Disappointing, we couldn't make any first downs. We had an 8-point lead to win the game, so we got 2 holding penalties. But our guys played pretty well, proud of them. You were down at halftime. What adjustments did you make in the locker room? I think we only punted once in the first half. Not much we could say except, you know, let's get the ball back quicker and let's try to capitalize. We finally got some balls in the air. You know, you throw it up to Rod Gardner, you always got a chance. And we just weren't getting them out. A few times we'd called some deep balls. So finally Shane got them up, and I think we hit everything we threw deep. See you on Monday night. All right, thanks, Sal. Back to you, Boomer.
All right, Sal, thank you. Well, I mean, look, they couldn't quite get rid of the Cardinals, but this is what we're doing. We're going to win 40-3, going to lose 40-3. Excitement in Washington.
Steve Spurrier has made it fun. We call it fun and gun. He's made it fun to play offensive football. And when they go up against the Eagles on Monday night, you know, Troy Vincent needs to be back in that lineup. It looks like they're going to be pretty potent offense this year, and he's going to throw the ball downfield.
Well, you know, they're going to do it no matter what the score is. You know, they even have a quarterback kick off. David Carr, his debut, the Houston Texans debut. At home against cross-state, now rival Dallas at the bottom of the hour. Sunday Night Football. Back in NFL primetime, the San Diego Chargers and the Cincinnati Bengals, 5 straight years. New opening quarterback for Cincinnati, it's Gus Frerotte. Drew Brees, new opening quarterback for the Chargers. Do you remember? Yes, we do. It was 21 seasons ago, 59 below, the AFC Championship game, Chargers and Bengals. Now it's 90 degrees, it's hot. And in the first quarter with the Chargers leading 3-0 for new coach Marty Schottenheimer. Oh, that's Gus Frerotte. Picked off by Alex Bolden. Tommy, that sets up LaDainian Tomlinson his second year.
And you love the way he runs. Here he's strictly north-south, and he can do that, get in between the tackles. But he also has the ability to see the lane, hear the cutback lane, get to the outside, outrun people, get what he can, and then get out of bounds.
And so with the running of Tomlinson and already with a 13-0 lead, Drew Brees, his first start, 15-yard run. Tough young man for Purdue, and 2 plays later. Why don't I let you get this yard, big guy? And Tomlinson does it at 20-0 San Diego against the Bengal team that many thought would be a surprise.
You!
Including the Schwab. I'll never do it again. Brees, I'm so sorry I did it. Brees, 9 yards to Curtis Conway. It's 27-3. You know, everything changes in football, but you can always count on one thing. Oh, the Bengals. And the Chargers win 34-6. Marty Schottenheimer's debut. And could there be a better present? Get well for John Butler, the general manager of San Diego, as he recovers from cancer. Our best wishes, and the team did the best for him. What a game between Kansas City and Cleveland. Tim Couch sitting. He watches Trent Green to Tony Gonzalez, who needs training camp, Tom. Touchdown, 7-3, the Chiefs, but we're just getting started.
Yeah, Tony Gonzalez right there. The linebacker, Darren Hambrick, right there in the arrow. First lesson you learn as a linebacker, something in front of you, something behind you. Trying to draw him up with the shallow cross right there. Gonzalez gets behind him. By the time he gets back to the play, Gonzalez already in the end zone.
So it's 14-13 Chiefs, second quarter, Kevin Johnson. Wait a minute. He's going to throw it on the reverse to Quincy Morgan. That's a good-looking pass, a better-looking result. 20-14 Cleveland on the 33-yard play. During the high holy days, how about Priest Holmes with 4 touchdowns? I mean, it's unbelievable. Here's the second of the game for the guy that, well, won the rushing title last year. No one knows it. Cleveland leads 30-24, but here come the Chiefs. Then Kelly Holcomb. It's a fumble. Dwayne Clemens recovers to the chagrin of Butch Davis. Holcomb throwing well for 300 yards, but now the fumble puts the Chiefs down 6 in business. Brees Holmes in business. Wow. 31-30 Kansas City. Next possession. Here's the type of day Holcomb had, though. Quincy Morgan wide open. Touchdown. They do not get the 2. It's 36-31 Brown. And then 3 minutes to go. Look at Priest Holmes.
Yeah, Priest Holmes has that knack of seeing the hole, getting it cut, changing that east-west to north-south almost instantly, and he's a very, very tough runner for his size.
37-36, they do not get the 2. Under 3 minutes to go. Holcomb to Kevin Johnson, down to the 31. Sets up, 33 seconds to go. A 41-yard attempt for Bill Dawson. The kick is up. Good. It's good. And the Browns look like they're going to win it. 39-37. 21 seconds to go. Trent Green tries something happen. But he's going to run with it. He's going to slide to the 47. Tick, 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 tick. We stopped with 4 seconds left. One shot. A miracle for Dick Vermeil, who has seen a few in his day. Last chance. Green under pressure. What? And he throws it back to John Tate, his lineman. It's a 25. Look at him, bubbling. Convoy, don't tell me he's going to score. He's not. It's over. Butch Davis has won. But wait a minute. Wayne Rudd, unsportsmanlike penalty, threw his helmet. Yes, it may have been in celebration, but Tom, it's the rule.
Well, you can't even remove your helmet on the football field while the ball is still in play. So that's the first mistake, the throwing of the helmet as you're celebrating. The second mistake.
And so it cannot end on a defensive penalty. The Chiefs get a chance for Morton Anderson, and of course he delivers an unbelievable finish in Cleveland. Remember the finish they had in their last year? This amazing. The Chiefs, with new life snatched from Lake Erie, they win 40-39. Afterwards, Rudd said, I wasn't annoyed. I was just happy.
That's how excited I am when the game is over. I thought everybody was walking to me on the 50 shake hands. I looked back and everybody's looking at me, so I knew that he had called the penalty. It's not that hard. I understand the rules, but I didn't think the rule would apply then. That I thought I had sacked him, and I thought he was in the grass. And like I said, I didn't see the sleep anyway, so it was just crazy play.
That's unbelievable. What a way to win. Dum, 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 dum. Capers and the Texans playing Dallas at 8:30. 2 years ago, they won the Super Bowl. This year, rebuilding big-time Baltimore. And then speaking about rebuilding, John Fox. And then there's a rat. So we have a fox and a rat in Carolina. What else could you expect for a team that John Fox, the new coach, a team that lost 15 in a row to end the year? Chris Bretman from Louisville. Touchdown for Baltimore to Ron Johnson. And the Ravens lead at 7-0 in the first. Under a minute to go. Rodney Peete. Tom, you played against him, didn't you?
Yeah, I remember my first year against Rodney.
Rodney in his 14th year. Hey, how about John Fox starting? Let's give him the nod. Wesley Walsh a touchdown. We're tied at 7. Jamal Lewis runs hard. 15 yards. He had 64-yard game. Matt Smokey Stover, 47 yards. No good. The Panthers still lead 10-7. Still that score, minute and a half to go. 3rd and 4 Ravens. Redmond hit by Julian Pepper. Intercepted by the #1 pick a year ago. Dan Morgan, 22 yards.
Drafted #1 by the Panthers because of that quickness off the football, that size to get up and cause those big impact plays for this defense.
So how about this? You can set your watch to it. Opening day every year, Carolina wins. Okay, so they don't win for the rest of the year. But John Fox knows one thing. He is 1-0. What a nice way to start.
Well, yeah, and I think some of those players, certainly that he wanted to see, young players who he wanted to see play well, came out and played well, especially Julius Peppers.
Congratulations to a guy that's waiting his turn to be a head coach. Eagles, Titans, and here's, we talk veteran James, we talk Ricky Williams, as you look at Donovan McNabb, but Eddie George's return so pivotal to Tennessee.